Welcome to combined classes of Ganita Sutras, Mathematics on First Principles and Vedic Mathematics Basis Base Values of 5-space VMST format. We are in phase 14. Uma Samhita is the focus Samhita. Goddess Uma is the goddess of this Samhita. In lesson 82 today, in this lesson 82, as enlightenment 4, we will be having simultaneously initiated and exposed to lesson 10 of Ganita Sutras, Mathematics and First Principles. Ganita Sutra 4 and Ganita Upsutra 4 are the focus sutras. We have been in the previous 3 lessons being sequentially taken through the organization format features of Ganita Sutras 1, 2, 3 and Ganita Upsutras 1, 2 and 3 parallel to the organization formats of 5-space VMST availed in Samhita, Uma Samhita, Samhita 5, and today we are at the next, that is the 4th step of enlightenment. Here in this 4th step we are focusing upon the parallel and reach of 11 geometries of 5-space and 13 geometries of 6-space. Hypercube of 5, the representative regular body of 5-space, is of 11 versions, and these 11 versions are the representative regular bodies of 11 geometries of 5-space. A step ahead, hypercube 6, the representative regular body of 6-space, is of 13 versions, and these 13 versions of hypercube 3 are the representative regular bodies of 6-space. We can have a pause here and take note that these interrelationship of 4-space and 6-space as dimension and as domain. So 4-space and 6-space are interrelated, and therefore 4-space as dimension takes to 6-space as domain, and minus 6-space as dimension takes to minus 4-space as domain. This makes a range of minus 6 to minus 4 with 0 also available in between. This is 11 steps long range. This 11 steps long range is the format which is the format of 11 geometries of 5-space. Therefore, hypercube 6 with its 13 versions as 13 geometries of 6-space get organized parallel to the format of 11 geometries of 5-space with 11 versions of hypercube 5 as the representative regular bodies of 11 geometries of 5-space. We can have a pause here and refresh as that this format of 11 geometries and of 11 versions of hypercube 5 as such is the format of synthesis of a pair of transcendence ranges and making it transcendental carriers. As a linear transcendence range, when we have a pair of such ranges, with linear order as a synthesis gives us value 31, and it becomes the value of the transcendental carriers as a synthetic setup of 11 of the 11 geometries format for the linear transcendence ranges. A step ahead, when we will be, instead of the linear transcendence ranges, when we will be upon the spatial transcendence ranges, the value will be 42. A step ahead, the solid transcendence ranges will give us the value 53. Step ahead, we will reach at value 64. This would be the value of 4 space in the role of dimension and 6 space as a domain. It is this format of a 64 as a synthesis value of a pair of creative transcendence ranges. This, when is extended of a reach a step prior to 31, it would be of value 0 of a 0 order transcendence ranges. Then we will reach at 9 as negative transcendence ranges, minus 2 as negative spatial orders. Then it would be minus 13 at minus solid order. Then it would be at minus 24 of minus creative order. It would be minus 35 at minus transcendence order. And then ultimately it would be minus 46 of negative self-referral order. So this range, beginning with minus 46 and reaching up till 64, is a 11 steps long range of transcendental carriers. The transcendental carriers, 11 in number, of the values minus 46 to 64, as such become a format for the 6 space setup. Therefore, the end reach value of 6 space of hypercube 6 of 13 versions of 13 geometries range is going to be of the same end reach value of the hypercube 5 of 11 versions as representative bodies of 11 geometries range of a 5 space. It is this parallel manifestation for hypercube 6 along the format of hypercube 5 of 11 geometries range of 5 space that the Vedic systems are successfully reaching at the end point, the common end point, where the reach of the transcendental phenomenon and reach of a self-referral phenomenon, the reach of 5 space format and reach of 6 space format is having a culmination. It is this culmination point which brings us face to face with the enlightenment, as that within the cavity of heart of Lord Shiv, the transcendental Lord, is the seat of the self-referral Lord Vishnu, and within the cavity of heart of self-referral Lord Vishnu is the seat of the transcendental Lord Shiv. It is this reach, it is this end value, it is this phenomenon which deserves to be comprehended well. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be face to face with these values features of the Vedic format of a Sthapatya mirroring rod, and along the Sthapatya mirroring rod is the transcendental carriers flow being carried by the transcendental Lord himself. All these features deserve to be compiled, chased on first principles. This chase on first principles is the basic chase in terms of which one can feel that one is initiating oneself properly, one is upon a transcendental path, one is flowing along the format of a sthapatya miring rod. The Uma Samhita is preserving the enlightenment as that the transcendental domain as it is of a solid order. The sphere, the representative regular body of 3 space, is of the setup that it splits as a pair of hemispheres. These pair of hemispheres originally of the opposite orientations, and when this pair of semi-spheres of opposite orientations are translated along the axis such that the upper hemisphere gets a lower placement and the lower hemisphere gets upper placement, then the setup will be of the form. It is this format that this split of a sphere into a pair of hemispheres will ultimately, with translation along the axis, will lead to the setup as that upper hemisphere becomes the of lower placement and lower hemisphere gets up upper placement. This becomes the northern hemisphere and it becomes the southern hemisphere. This southern hemisphere is of value 19. One can have a pause here and take note that the Ganita Sutra 1 is having value 6 for its first letter, value 6 for its second letter, value 2 for its third letter, and value 7 for its fourth letter, and the summation value is 19. Therefore, it is at the fourth stage, at the stage of Ganita Sutra 4, that the structural keys of all these 4 sutras, 6, 4, 2, and 7, give us a value 19. It is this value 19 which deserves to be appreciated for its complete appreciation, to have a full insight about this phenomenon. We know that from the 5th stage onwards, the values which have been progressing like this have been go in the reverse orientation. It is this reverse orientation which is responsible for having the transposition and translation for the both hemispheres of our solar universe for the organization, as that the upper sphere becomes of a lower placement and lower sphere goes of an upper placement. And further here it would be blissful to take note that formulation Sapt, whose simple value is 7 and its TCV value is 14. It is this value for 7 as 14 which also comes to a focus when we are at the organization format of Ganita Sutra 2. The Ganita Sutra 2, Niklim Navasta Charmam Dashata, is of a trimonad format, and the first formulation Niklim is a setup of 7 letters, and second formulation is of 14 letters, and third formulation is of 7 letters. Therefore, at the middle, the value is 14, which is equal to 7 plus 7. It is this feature of this organization which comes into play, and it is because of it the structural keys which give a parabolic organization of value 6, 4, 2, 7, 2, 4 and 6, and this value 7 is playing a role for its both strings. It is this role for pair of strings which deserves to be comprehended well, and it will help us appreciate as to how the organization of our solar universe and particularly of the motions of earth within this solar universe. So the earth sphere as a synthetic setup of the pair of hemispheres during motion has been adjusted and organized in such a way that northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, which are of say upper and lower placement, they with the organization arrangement of the upper format to be of lower placement, a lower format to be of an upper placement, gives it such an equilibrium stability for during the flow, and it is this stability of the flow which is at work in this particular organization. And a step further, when each hemisphere, say this hemisphere, again is split into a pair of quarter spheres. So when these quarter spheres are taken and then their orientation as well, when is taken as like this, front going to a back and back going to a front. Let us have a pause here. During a translation along first axis, the pair of hemispheres of our earth as well as of our solar universe are approached initially of upper and lower placement, and then for translation equilibrium attainment, this organization is taken that upper part comes to be of lower placement and lower part goes to an upper placement. With this, then each hemisphere with these replaced placements are further put into quarters. So 4 quarters are available. So 2 quarters for the lower placement hemisphere and 2 quarters for upper placement. The lower hemisphere as a pair of quarter setups, when are split, the same as well are replaced along the second axis for their placement as front and the back. So this change in this adjustment feature goes along the second axis and along the third axis, then each quarter is again split into a pair of parts, and these 8 parts of the original sphere, when are given reversal of orientations along first axis, second axis and third axis, then these make a setup like a kamal, a flower which has its petals unfolding outwards, but the inner navel is having another sphere which gets a internal intact like a pentagon within a pentagon, and none of the internal diagonals passing through the center of the pentagon, and phenomenon going on in infinitum. It is this ad infinitum format features of the 5-space setup, a hypersphere 5, a universal sphere, an earth sphere within it. Now sphere within a sphere with this split and arrangement of reversal of orientations along all the 3 axes will bring us face to face with the setup of a cube. If we visit the setup of a cube, we see that cube is a setup of 8 corner points, and in each of the 8 corner points there is a 3-dimensional frame of half dimensions. So these 8 3-dimensional frames of half dimensions are coordinated in terms of the quadruple internal diagonals. These internal diagonals become the translation path, and when along these translation paths the 3-dimensional frames translate inward, and with their reach at the center they get synthesized into a three-dimensional frame of a full dimensions. And like that, quadruple three-dimensional frames of full dimensions become available, which together with the original three-dimensional frame of full dimensions makes its availability of the setup of 5 three-dimensional frames of full dimensions, and it makes a dimensional frame, a solid dimensional frame of 5 dimensions. These are the features, these are the values which are flowing from the transcendental format of 5 space. Now this transcendental format leads us sequentially to how each step is mathematically changed in terms of the steps of the Ganita Sutras. Let us revisit Ganita Sutra 4. Ganita Sutra 4 is a scripture, is a discipline, is a text of 17 letters. And these 17 letters of Ganita Sutra 4 lead us to value 52. Transcendental value 52 is the value of all these 17 letters of Ganita Sutra 4. A step ahead, Ganita Sutra 4 is a setup of 21 letters, and these 21 letters lead to TC value 92. We can have a pause here and take note that 52 is 13 into 4 and 92 is 23 into 4. Further, we know that these values together give a setup of 144. The value 144 is the value of 12 into 12. That means that the value 144 is a 12 square. It means that the self-referral domain hypercube 6 with its 12 boundary components. So transcendental boundary of 12 components of 6 space, when in a pair, when we will be having a pair of hypercube 6, then this pair of hypercube 6 setups with transcendental boundary component, transcendental boundary of 12 components for each of hypercube 6, when these transcendental boundary components will strip off from hypercube 6 space domain, then these 12 transcendental boundary components of hypercube 6 1 and the second hypercube 6 as will make available as many as 12 transcendental boundary components. This pair of sets of 12 transcendental boundary components emanating from the transcendental boundary of the pair of self-referral domains 6 space will fulfill the structural setup for the outer space, means for the 7 space. The outer space, the 7 space will get dimensionalized with as many as 12 into 12 is equal to 144. 144 transcendental values would be available, which will be at the base of dimensionalization of the outer space, that is the 6 space, that is the 7 space. And we know 7 space is a pole star space. We also know that 7 space is the playing the role of the origin of a 6 space. All these features as such are simultaneously at work. All these features are simultaneously coming into play. Therefore, this such a large phenomenon of our solar universe being fulfilled with the transcendental values, so the solar universe fulfilled with the transcendental values having a flow as transcendental carriers along a Sthapatya miring rod presided by Lord Vishnu, Mayer presided by Lord Brahma, and the transcendental flow as transcendental carriers being carried by the Lord Shiva, the transcendental Lord himself. With this phenomenon and the organization for the solar universe as of a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere, giving us a value 19 for the southern hemisphere and value 17 for the northern hemisphere, and in between the synthetic value of the synthetic giant of this dimonad of value 17 and 19 being the value 18. This value 18 being a fourfold manifestation layer 3, 4, 5 equal to the fourfold manifestation layer setup of hypercube 5, the representative regular body of 5 space, and 5 space having as many as 11 geometries range, and these 11 geometries range are having 11 versions of hypercube 5 as the representative regular bodies. The 11 geometries format is a format which is of potentialities to adjust the 13 geometries range of hypercube 6 as of the reach of 4 space as a creative dimension of 6 space, and in the opposite orientation negative 6 space playing the role of a dimension for the negative creative order, and this range from -4 0 to 6 -6 0 to 4 of 11 steps. This adjustment, all these factors simultaneously available, then take us to the phenomenon that the diameter of a sphere, diameter of a circle, Vyas is of 28 transcendental designations. These 28 names of Lord acquiring as manifested state as Vyas and value 28 being the perfect number accepting as many as 5 divisors, and these 5 divisors, these set of value 5, this 5 for 28 values making value 140, and with it the organization for 140 as a value 70 plus 70, and we know when hypercube 5 as 3, 4, 5 of value 80 goes for the next stage of manifestation as hypercube 18 of quadruple values 16, 17, 18 and 90 of value 70. It is this way that each and every processing step of the existence phenomenon of our solar universe, may it be within frames or may it be without frames, including the existence phenomenon of our own within our own body as a Purusha, are being simultaneously chased as a transcendental flow, as transcendental carriers being carried by the transcendental Lord himself. Let us have a pause here and let us see that this way, this phenomenon of the Ganita Sutras mathematics and of the Sthapatya miring rod of the transcendental flow and the values and features of 5 space geometry, 5 space sciences, 5 space mathematics. So 5 space VMST values and features phenomenon as is of a reach up till the organization format of Uma Samhita, and likewise the parallel flow of the values and features of the mathematical steps of organization and the processing steps of Ganita Sutras 1 to 4, as these are bring us face to face with, as that these are very large number of features, very large number of processing steps, very large number of processes coming into place simultaneously. Therefore, from this lesson onwards, the combined classes for the Ganita Sutras, Mathematics on First Principles, and Initiation Exposure for 5-space VMST along Sthapatya Miring Rod format will be desirably to be taken separately for some phase, some time, so that the students of Vedic Mathematics chasing Ganita Sutras, Mathematics on First Principles shall acquire more insight and have more perfection of an intelligence with respect to the Ganita Sutras, Mathematics, and the students of 5-space VMST having an urge to be along with the format of Sthapatya Miring Rod for the chase of the ancient wisdom preserved as Shipron shall have initial separate chase of their own values, and after some stage when both class of sadhakas, both classes of students will have their more maturity and perfection and insight in their independent specific disciplines, then again we can have a joint classes. For the present, we are stopping to have the joint classes, but the students of mathematics and students of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology shall visit and revisit with all seriousness these 4 lessons of joint classes, as these quadruple lessons of joint classes are very valuable. These provide great insight for both of them, for their disciplines and for their chase. The students of Vedic Mathematics of Ganita Sutras shall continue their chase and independently for their further insight, and likewise the students of VMST also to continue their chase for perfection of their insight of the ancient wisdom, and they shall continue with the further enlightenment preserved in the Uma Samhita, and from here they will have a transition to Kailasha Samhita and then ultimately to Vaivya Samhita. But this chase, when will be like this in the present flow, it will be only a Prathama Vritti. It is with this completion of a Prathama Vritti, the real situation for perfection will arise with the fresh initiation of the chase as a Dvitiya Vritti, and we know as the scriptures enlighten that for a proper satisfaction of a proper exposure for the knowledge, we shall have at least Pancham Vritti. Thank you very much.